Hi everyone, I'm Donna Stellhorn, your practical astrologer, and today we are talking about the full moon. It's on August 9. It's at 17 degrees of Aquarius. The Lion's Gate lines up a day before this full moon, and that unprecedented talent triangle I've been talking about is lit up because Mars is forming a kite pattern, activating the energy. Yeah, that sounded like a lot. It's a lot, and that's what we're going to talk about. In unprecedented times, it's very important to be flexible and resilient, and this full moon in Aquarius gives you a chance to change directions while you're in motion. So this is the energy that I'm seeing for this full moon. It's that Mars is making a trine both to Uranus and to Pluto, and it's making that opposition to Saturn and Neptune, and that forms this kite configuration. So while you are doing all of the things that you're doing, and there are lots of things that you're doing, you can, say, shift one direction towards Uranus and do something completely unexpected, out of the box. Or you can shift towards Pluto and let go of something that's been holding you back, a vice, an attitude, a person, a project, and free yourself. Or you can meet Saturn and Neptune in the middle and actively work with someone else, maybe helping them. So putting aside your desires and your goals and really focusing on them. And as you do, you get the insights and spiritual healing that you need. And all of this comes down to the fact that what's most important right now is flexibility and resilience. And I was reading Seth Godin's blog, and he was talking about resilience and being able to move forward even though things haven't worked out. You know, that when things don't work out, that we try something else, and then we try something else, and we try something else. And that continual knocking at these different doors is what brings us opportunities. And if you would like to know more about what's ahead for you in 2025 and 2026, I do readings. I do all types of astrological readings. That means progressed readings, solar return readings, readings for compatibility, to start your business, for timing. So if you're interested, there's a link in the description. And then at the end of this video, we're going to continue talking about your money houses and how to find the hidden money in your chart. Okay, Gemini, this full moon's lighting up your area of education and travel, while Mars is activating the area of risk-taking and creativity. And so I think your mind's going to be working a mile a minute, coming up with new solutions to, how you can do more travel, or how you can get the education that you want. How can you get things covered? How do you get things paid for? So that is that right now you're flooded with creative ideas, and that brings you lots of opportunities. So some of these ideas are going to be outside of your comfort zone. And, I think that of all the signs, probably you visit that edge a lot anyway, so you might as well hop over into that more risky thing, and you can hop right back if the water feels too hot. So this is a time to be looking at solutions that are out of the box, and these ideas are going to be coming to you. Now, when it comes to your relationships, Mercury's not making an aspect with Jupiter, and you have a longer term energy that's happening, and that is that Uranus is in your own sign. Now, it's only going to be there for a couple of months, and then it's going to retreat back into Taurus for a while. And then next year, it will be back again. But what this is doing is it's changing you. And when you change, then the dynamic of the relationship could change. So, and that's the kind of thing to keep in mind. Now, because there's no aspect between Mercury and Jupiter, there's not much you can do about it this week. You may feel different. You may feel like, there is a divide that's happening, or that you are, wanting to be somebody different, but they still, the person expects you to be your old self. So this is a good time to just plant some seeds and talk about the things that are changing, the new things that you want to do, who you want to become. But because there's no aspect between Mercury and Jupiter, you could also pass this up and just do this when this energy lines up in the future, which it will. Now, when it comes to your money, you pull money from the moon, which is in your area of educations, which means you probably are picking up a lot of tips on how to do things. You're probably watching tutorials or connecting in some way with someone who's going to help you learn about things. Now, Venus and Jupiter are in your house of money. When Venus is there, there can be extra spending, and that might mean that you're buying equipment or new apps, or you're doing subscriptions, all to help you make more money. So, but be careful, because when Venus is with Jupiter, overspending can happen. Now, when it comes to money from business or from investments, the moon's making a semi-square to Saturn. And you know, we'd like to see an aspect, because that aspect means that the money that's out in the world can come to you. But the semi-square is a challenging aspect. And so the customers who come or the investments you're dealing with have either a lot of paperwork connected to them, or the customer has a lot of hoops that you have to jump through, or there is something that is not so easy to do right now, but you're quite capable of doing it. You're quite capable of unraveling this puzzle. So the thing is whether you want to spend the time doing it, because of course this aspect will line up better in the future. And then when it comes to money derived from careers, so that would be a paycheck, the moon's making a sesquiquadrate to Mars. And a sesquiquadrate is, again, it's an aspect, so it's possible, but because it's a difficult aspect, it can mean that the amount of strings attached to any sort of raise or bonus that you get at this time could eat up all the benefits that you would be receiving from that money. So then that could be that you get the raise, but they want you in the office more, or you get the raise, but you have to deal with this project or this particular difficult person. So you may want to wait, as again, this energy is going to line up better. Well, right now you are doing difficult energy, and that means that you can still get what you want, but there are some strings attached. Okay, in the third section of this video, there is a little tutorial, but first I have a couple of announcements, and one of those is about the tutorials themselves, and that is that as a member, you get direct access to these tutorials. You get them all, in a little series, and there are additional videos, deep dive videos, behind the scenes videos. And so if you're really interested in astrology, then consider joining. The join button is on YouTube. It's right by the subscribe button, and so I would love to have you as a member. And then, in case you don't know already, I give a free class every month. It is on the first day of the month. It's at 12 p.m. Pacific time. That is 3 p.m. Eastern time. That is 8 p.m. England time. I don't know what that is for Australia. I should find out. But in this class, we do an astrological overview of the month, and then we write our monthly wishes together. We pick what we're going to focus on for the month, and then we do a short meditation where we energize this all together, all of our lists. And this class lasts for about an hour. As I said, it is free. You can register for this class. There's a link in the description. So let's continue our discussion about finding the hidden money in your chart. And by the way, I do have a video course on this topic, and there is a link to that in the description. So we've talked about the second house for a couple of videos now, and so I'd like to start our discussion talking about the other houses, money houses in your chart. You have 4 total money houses in your chart, and the second house is the most important one, but the others do play an important role. So there's the 5th house, and the 5th house is about speculation and money derived from real estate. So if you're a person who's going to roll the dice, invest in crypto, take a chance on buying a business or starting up a business, that energy will show up in the 5th house. Now, additionally, because real estate is the 4th house, and the 5th house is the second from the 4th house, so in derivative houses, we are deriving charts from the individual houses. So the second from the 4th house would be money derived from real estate. And so if you work in real estate, if you work in construction, if you do anything basically in the trades, or you do home decor, or you rent out part of your house, that all would be covered by the 5th house, or at least the money derived from those activities would be covered by the 5th house. Then there's the 8th house. Now, the 8th house is money from business. It is money from investments. It is money from partnerships. It's also inheritance, gifts, royalties, residuals, passive income sources, and the lottery. Now, the lottery is different than speculation for the 5th house. That type of speculation in the 5th house is more like poker, where you are head-to-head against another individual or the house, versus the lottery, where there is mutual betting that happens and then someone walks away with the prize. And then this is money from partnerships. That includes marriage, and that's because the 7th house is your partner, the person that you marry or your business partner. And then in derivative houses, the 2nd from the 7th, which is the 8th house, would be money derived from partnership. And then there is the 11th house, and the 11th house is money derived from career. So again, we're using derivative houses. The 10th house is your career, and so the 2nd from the 10th would be money derived from career. And that would include working for somebody else or doing some sort of contract work, especially if you're in some sort of temp agency where you're going from business to business. This is also, though, for people who work in their own business, but they are integral for that business, such as a doctor whose name is on the plaque. And so if the doctor's not there, there is no business. Or people like studio musicians, where it's gig after gig, but it's more treated like a job, where there are certain hours that they have to show up and do whatever they're doing. So there is a little bit of a fine line on the contract work. Sometimes that will appear more as 8th house, sometimes it's more 11th house. But in general, what we look at is if you have a well-disposed 11th house, you're more likely to work for someone else. If your 8th house is a better house, better based on the planets that are there and the aspects that they're making, then you're more inclined to have your own business. And then the next step will be to look at the planets in those houses and what houses they rule, and then also the sign on the cusp and where that planet is, because that house will give you more information about the money you can attract. And we will talk about that in future videos. And that's it. I put out an illustrated newsletter once a week, and if you like astrology and you love black cats, this is something you'll want to subscribe to. There's a link in the description, and I will see you in the next video.